Hello and welcome back. Sorry about the long delay between videos, but between the Christmas holidays and working on the brand new update for the pack, it's been really chaotic, but hopefully we can get them back on track from now. So, where we last left off, we just added a ranged attack, and obviously it works pretty okay, but there are a few issues with it. First one being the attack speed, so the actual setting of the attack speed inside the function doesn't work, so you have to do it externally. And the second one is there is no animation playing when we're attacking. And we'll fix both of these issues and also explore the concept of Animation Notifies, which is a pretty cool feature we've added for the plugin, which allows you to add an event at a specific frame of an animation so you can do stuff. For example, you can play the arrow shooting right when the animation for the arrow shooting reaches its apex. We'll get more into that a bit later. So, first, let's figure out the attack speed, shall we? So, let's close this and let's go and double click your hero character. And as you can see, I've added pretty primitive attack speed, and basically this is just a do once node, which is what you can imagine. So it only does the input once until it's reset. So in our case, you press E, it goes through the do once node, it does the range attack, and then until the delay is done, you can't, even if you press it, it doesn't do anything anymore because it's not reset. So in our case, we have the attack speed and you just have the actual value. So basically you press E, do once, attack, and then it waits 0.3 seconds in our case until the do once is open again, and you can attack again. So this is very primitive, and it's fine if you don't care about animations and whatnot, but we're gonna make something better. So for now, just delete this and put it back to what it was. Okay, perfect. Save, and let's try to add the animation, and the attack speed will go hand in hand with this. So, just like we did for the moving, jumping, and falling, we'll start the animation system with a boolean. So, let's add a new variable, and now B is ranged attacking. And basically this is gonna be our variable that determines if we're ranged attacking or not. So, compile and save. And now, basically, when we press E, we want to check, are we already ranged attacking? Because if we are, then we don't want to refresh this anymore. We want the animation to finish before that. So we're just gonna make a branch and check. So if it is true, then we don't do anything. But if it is false, then we're gonna set up the ranged attack. And then we're gonna set the ranged attacking to true. And now there's a few ways we can handle this, but I'm just gonna show you the more, I guess, the simpler way initially, but that's a bit more prone to failure. But if you don't want to use things like Animation Notifies and whatnot, this is gonna be for you. So once you have the set ranged attacking to true, right, we basically don't want to be able to attack again until the attack speed has cooled down, right? So in that case, we just add a simple delay node. And for the delay, we just add the attack speed to the delay. And after the delay, we just set the attack speed back to the ranged attack back to null. So even if we don't have the an attack animation yet, we can still use this part to do attack speed. So let's just give it a try, shall we? Let's put the attack speed to 3. That's 3 seconds in this case. Compile and save, and open up here. So attack, I'm pressing it as you can see, and nothing's happening until the delay is done. And you can even see if you want, I think here you attack and then the delay is running, and once it's done you can attack again. So that's pretty straightforward, and we can use this for our animations as well. So go back here. I've left the Pixel 2D contents open. Go back to Potato Paladin, go to Hero Character Animation, go to your event graph, and just get the ranged attack. Get is ranged attacking from here, and just save it as A is ranged attacking. Cool. So in our case, there are a couple of different states we can be in ranged attacking. Like, you can be ranged attacking while idle, you can be ranged attacking while moving, or you can be ranged attacking while jumping. And fortunately, we have different animations for each of them. But if you don't have, if you just have one ranged attacking animation, that's fine, you can just use one. But if you have multiple, it looks nicer. So let's continue. Now we have the is ranged attacking on. Let's go back to our sprite machine, our state machine, sorry, and let's just add another state, ranged attack idle, another state, ranged attack, what's the name, run, moving, let's go with moving, and ranged attack jumping. Okay, great. So the ranged attack idle is pretty simple. It only happens if you're idle, and once it's finished it goes back to idle. The ranged attack moving comes from moving, and once it's finished it goes back to idle again, because if the player is still moving then they'll instantly go back to movement. But it's better to be sure, because if we go back to movement and they just go back to idle again, it might cause some issues. And for jumping, we can do it, it's both from jumping and from falling, so, but it always goes back to falling in my opinion. It never goes back to actually jumping. So in our case, let's add a couple of conditions, right? So if I wanted to go from idle to ranged attack idle, then this should be true. You get a couple of warnings, but that's fine, we'll fix all of them. And if you want to go back from ranged attack idle to idle, you basically want to go back once the animation is finished playing. So let's add the animation, and let's see, which one is it? I think this is it, the bow attack. Add it, compile, save it, and we want to use the same idea that we had from jump to falling. So when the animation's finished for jumping, it's a one-shot animation, you want it to go back to falling. So in our case, we'll just do something similar to this. Get relevant anim time remaining fraction less than 0.01, and then you enter transition. And in our case, it's get relevant anim time remaining fraction, it's less than 0.01, that's fine. Great, and now we do the same for all the others. We'll be using the rainbow animation here, and then we'll be using the airbow animation here. And well, that's all done, and technically everything should work. Well, let's hope so, fingers crossed. Just don't forget to save everything, save, compile, save, okay. And the moment of truth. There's something wrong here, and let's figure out what. So this is an issue that a lot of people might face due to not necessarily understanding how animation blueprints and state machines work, but this was supposed to happen, I promise. So to figure out why it does this, so as you can see, it continues playing the animations for a while. That's because, if you remember back here, we did the delay for the attack speed, and basically we set the ranged attacking true, and then after, in our case, 3 seconds, we set it back to false. Now, what this runs, it runs basically on every frame, and it checks if A's ranged attacking is true. And in our case, for example, let's say idle. You're idle, you press the ranged attack, and it checks it's true, and then it starts attacking, right? And then once that animation is finished, it goes back to idle, which is like how long the animation takes. Like, it's less than a second. It's 15 or 20 frames, something like that. But since ranged attacking is still true, then it goes back to repeating the animation, because that's what it does. It doesn't know how to do anything. It doesn't know it has to stop, so it's just gonna keep repeating the animation until this isn't false, this isn't true anymore, and then it's gonna stop. Well, that's not really what we want, so there's a couple of ways to fix this, and this is where the Animation Notifies really shine. So how you could do this is basically you would add a small delay about, let's say you would check the animation length, maybe it's like 0.3 seconds, let's say like that, and then you would have another delay for the attacks based on the attack speed minus the delay of the animation, 0.3, and basically still have to go with the gate, so do once with a do once node. No, you do it like this, and then you would reset it like this. So in case you don't know, and if you have like these looping nodes, you can always double click here and then drag it like this, and double click here as well and do it like this. So this should technically work, because in our case we are setting the ranged attacking back to false really soon, like after 0.3 seconds, and you might want to check your animation speed, and then we'll have to wait a bit until we start again. So in theory this should work. There you go. I can't play it anymore, and obviously again there's timing issue since we're launching the rocket, but the animation isn't synchronized with it. So again, you can do more manual stuff. You can do a manual delay and timing so everything syncs up, but you can give up all of these and just use Animation Notifies, which make it much simpler. How? I'm gonna show you how right now. So just close this. We can delete all of the kind of semi-useless, I wouldn't call it crap, but we don't need this anymore. We don't need this, okay? So we'll still need this, and you'll see what happens in a second. So compile and save, and then let's go back here and let's talk about Animation Notifies. Basically, let's go into our ranged attack idle, and we have our FB char bow, and let's right click and open asset. And once you do this, this thing is gonna appear. So it's basically, this is the list of every sprite inside your flickbook, and you can add different notifies. Basically, a notify is just an event. It's basically, I can have different events. Let's say I want to add an event for when the animation finishes, right? So I'm gonna go here and the plus item and enable it, and just say and just go with ranged projectile release. No, ranged projectile, ranged anim finished. Okay, that's better. And basically, once I have this, I can right click it and add it here. Now we're working on updating this whole interface so it's better and more visible. We've added some icons and a better workflow for the next update, but for now, if you can see the red rectangle here, basically this says we're gonna add the notify here, and in our case we wanted to add it just before finishing, but not right at the end, because Unreal is kind of imprecise, so we need a bit of we need at least a bit of room to work with. So we're gonna say that the animation finishes right around here, okay? And then this is all fine and good, but we want to add another one, which is basically when we want to release the projectile. So if you remember, the projectile went first, but we want to release the projectile right about keep moving here, somewhere around here. So we'll add another animation, enable it obviously, and then ranged projectile release, okay, and add it, where did we say we added it? Right here. Move right range projectile release here. Don't forget to save, compile and save your asset so it saves. Again, the UI is a bit terrible and we're working on that. And once we have all of these, now we have some events to work with. So you can go to your event graph, and if you right click and just find ranged anim finished, you basically have two new events that are gonna trigger whenever the animation hits that point. So ranged projectile release, and these two don't do much on their own, but we could link them to events within your hero character, and that's gonna help us out a lot. So go to your hero character and let's create two new events that are basically these. So create, add custom event, so ranged animation finished, and custom event ranged projectile released. Okay, so great. And now save it and compile, And now through here you can use this, so ranged animation finished. Basically you can do this to trigger this event, and range projectile released, and you can use this to trigger this event. So basically that's kind of all we have to do within this animation blueprint, and this is just for the idle animation. You should add the same events with the exact same names, unless you want different events for the ranged attack jumping, but I suggest you just have the same one. So you can add same here, open up new assets, add 2 of them, but they have to have the same names if you want just to have an event. So in our case they have to be called what were they called again? Ranged anim finished. Ranged anim finished. Great, and we add it somewhere around here. And the other case is ranged list, and somewhere around here. Great. Compile and save. Same thing for moving. So, back in our hero character blueprint, we now have our 2 events, and let's see how we can use them, right? Well, first of all, as we said, we want a ranged attack to only come when, to only trigger when the ranged projectile is released, right? So, we're gonna decouple it from here and just put it here. Great, so this is decoupled from the E key, and it's just gonna release when this event triggers, right? So now basically we're gonna use our input E key to actually trigger this event. But we don't want to be able to continue pressing this once the animation is finished, because we want to take the attack speed into account, right? So for this, we'll be using another do once node that's gonna depend on the attack speed. So let's try it, shall we? So basically, we'll keep the, if it's not ranged attacking, right? Then do once. And we're gonna set ranged attacking to true. So, and once it's true, we don't want to be able to set it back to true again until the attack speed delay is done. So in our case, we're gonna be using this. So we're gonna be using this as a way to reset the gate. So once you've released your ranged projectile, then we can enter up a delay, and that delay is gonna be based on the attack speed. Great. So what's gonna happen here is you press E the first time, ranged attacking is false, it's gonna do once, it's gonna set ranged attacking is true, which is gonna enable the animation, and once the animation reaches the point we set out, it's gonna do the ranged attack, and then we're gonna have a delay of the ranged attack speed, so we aren't able to press the attack key again. Great. So one last thing that needs to be done is when the ranged animation is finished, we need to have the ranged attacking set to false. So basically this is, I'd say this is considerably easier than the one before, because we don't have to work with weird timings and figure out what the animation length is. We're just using basically the event. So, and this allows us, like, if we change our animation sprite, we just need to change the position. We just need to add new events with the same name, and it's just gonna work out automatically. So we don't have to fiddle with the timings and whatnot. And now, if everything went according to plan, it should work. Let's hit play, shall we? I get it here. So now, there you go. As you can see, I'm pressing it again, and it's gonna spawn. Now I guess there's a little slight error here with where it spawns, but we can change this. We can put the range spawn here, so we can tweak around. We can tweak around it, so it's there. You go. So now it plays, and let's see with the running. There you go. So we have a nice running animation as well, and everything seems to be working fine. Now you can go back and reduce the attack speed so it's something more natural, like 0.7, let's say, for an attack speed, and we can test out the jumping animation as well. So there you go, it's fine. There you go. Let's jump here and then jump here. Okay, so there's a slight hiccup in our jumping animation. Let's check it again. So running seems to be working, but jump doesn't seem to be working, which, let's see why, shall we? So let's go back and double click our hero character anim. Let's go back to the animation graph, and let's see the animation jumping, and open the asset. And okay, it seems, yep, the function names are case sensitive. So in our case we had a lowercase f instead of an uppercase f, so basically the end of the animation wasn't triggering. Now hopefully it should be fixed. Let's try it again. Working, and okay, still not working. Yeah, I found the issue. It's like we had two issues actually. So neither the uppercasing was correct, and we have the ranged attack range projectile released. I added an D at the end. So yeah, sometimes you just have to debug these things manually. And now hopefully it should work. This is working, and there you go, this is working again. So okay, cool. Hopefully this answered a lot of your questions. We actually found some errors and we fixed them as well, since when implementing new stuff you'll bound to run into errors. So I think the fact that we actually had a few errors here and had a few issues that we had to deal with is gonna be much helpful in the future. And now the next video, I think we can finally go back to the previous videos promise and add an enemy. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you guys later.